Drivetime audio stories. Moving the miles. All stories 3 minutes through 3 hours. Graded 1 through 9. Something for everyone. Choose by genre or choose by age. For all audio stories in one place, go to gradedreading.com. Your host behind the mic, I'm Tony Sharp, and today's story, Grade 4, The Cave, 13 minutes. In the place that I lived, for about 100 miles inland from the sea, under the ground, was limestone. Where there is limestone, there is always caves. Where I lived as a boy, there were many known caves. For every known cave, there were 100 unknown caves. One of the most beautiful caves is called the Tantanoola Cave. It's not a big cave like the Princess Margaret Rose Cave, but it's the most beautiful cave. It was found by a boy who noticed rabbits going down a hole. This hole was not dug by rabbits, as the hole was made of rocks. He put his dog down the hole, but the dog got lost in the cave and never came back, so the boy went to get help to dig the hole bigger, and that's how they found both the dog and the cave. The stalactites hanging down from the roof drip water, and exactly below the stalagmites grew up. In many places they had grown together. 2 streets away from my house there is a cave that is full of water. It was a wet water cave called the Umfriston Cave because it was in Umfriston Street. The police had a big lock on the door so no one could get in. The police used it to train divers. It had 3 underwater caverns. One stretched towards our house. When I was 14, while I was playing around in the backyard, I noticed that if I jumped by the corner of the truck shed, the whole ground would make a very hollow sound. Up until then, I had never thought that there might be a cave underground. My friend's father had dug a well by digging down using a 4-inch auger called a post-hole borer. It had a long pipe attached to a T-handle. By turning the T-handle round and around, it would bore a 100mm hole straight down. By screwing on additional lengths of pipe, it was possible to go down 10 metres to find water, and so have your own private well. I didn't tell my mother I was going to dig a well. She might say no. I kept all the parts of the auger behind the woodpile. When she went shopping, I would get to work. I always made sure to finish in time to replace the wood over the hole and put the plug of grass back in place before my mother came home. I just wanted to show my mother I could do something on my own, and it would be a big surprise to give her her private well so she could water her garden in the summertime. But to tell you the truth, I was hoping to find a cave. At 3 metres down, I struck soft white limestone. Now I started hiding the limestone behind the woodpile. As I continued to drill down, I screwed new sections of pipe onto the auger. I continued my drilling down until I was 2 metres into the limestone when I got a big fright. I was turning the borer around and around just like normal when, without warning, it just dropped out of my hands and the T-handles hit my feet. I was so excited I'd broken through into a cave. I was very tired after pulling up all the pipes and the auger out of the hole and storing them behind the woodpile. With time to spare, before my mother came home, I got my fishing reel and tied a sinker on the end and lowered it down the hole. Finally it reached the bottom. I cut the line, tied a loop in the end, and then pulled the line up and laid it out on the back lawn. Finally it reached the bottom. Next I cut the line and tied a loop in the end, and then I pulled the line up and laid it out on the back lawn. Now I could measure how far from the cave roof to the floor. The answer I figured out was so exciting. My hole was 6 meters deep, and the cave depth was another 15 meters deep. Now I really wanted to know, was my cave a dry or a wet cave? Would it be beautiful like the Tantanoola Cave, or an extension of the Umfriston Cave 2 streets away? My mother was due home, so I covered up the hole as usual. Now I was in agony waiting for my mother's next shopping trip. I found many old strings that had been used to tie up hay bales. These I tied together. I attached a big bolt to one end. It would be easy to see if the string was wet. Finally my mother went out. I raced to get the plug of grass out and the wood that covered the hole, and with great excitement let down the string till it hit the bottom, and then pulled it up again. The further it came out dry, the more excited I got. Only the last part was dry. It was all dry except a bit by the bolt, which was wet. The next thing I did was get some chalk and draw out a full set of stairs on the basketball court. By this method, I measured how far my stairs would have to go to get to the bottom. I was devastated to learn I could not reach my cave from our property. Digging straight down and using a ladder would not be possible without telling my mum. And now I wanted it to be my own private cave. I lay in bed dreaming of my own cave, but how could I get inside? Then I had a bright idea. Maybe it might be less deep at another point further away from my first hole. My second hole was a lot easier to dig than the first one. It went down behind the woodpile, about 15 meters from the old hole. My idea was right. The auger broke through just 3 meters down. And then I lowered the auger a further 2 meters to find the floor. And to my excitement, the auger was dry. At school I came top of the class in woodwork, and I was planning on becoming a builder when I finished school. These skills allowed me to build a secret removable floor in the bottom of my wardrobe in my bedroom. Under the false bottom, I cut the house floorboards to get to the ground under the house. From there I started digging a set of stairs. These stairs would have to go one way and then turn the corner and go the other way to be able to get to where I needed to be. The wonderful thing about a compass is that it works just the same underground. It was by this method I kept my stairs going straight. I spread the dirt around underneath the house from the first part of the stairs. When I got to the limestone layer, I would bring the white crumbly stone up in a bucket and pour it down the hole in the truck shed. It was so frustrating not being able to work except when my mother was away. Imagine my delight when she asked me if I minded being on my own for 3 days. She had to go to Adelaide for some medical tests. "Don't worry about me, Mother. I can cook for myself. And my friend Jim can come over and watch videos if I get lonely," I said. It was hard to be that excited on the inside and not show it. For the next 3 days, I worked 16 hours per day. I was so close to the breakthrough level when I needed to stop. I needed to clean up the bits of limestone that I might have dropped. The kitchen looked like a bomb had gone off inside. Everything was dirty. The clean-up took me 2 hours. I had just finished getting everything neat and tidy when my mother came home. It was agony waiting for the next chance to dig. I'm going to Allendale to see my friend on Sunday. Will you be okay on your own?" asked my mother. "Yes, Mum," I said, as if I didn't care. Inside I cared more than anything in the world. I was sure in 6 hours, if I stored the rubble on the higher steps, I could break through. As the car drove out the drive, I was going down through my secret wardrobe floor. I had plenty of light from a power lead which went down the stairs. It hung from nails on the rounded roof. It was so easy to hammer nails into limestone. I was really surprised. I thought today I was going to have to work very hard digging. The first swing of the pick caused the whole face of my tunnel to collapse away from me into the darkness. How amazing I had been just one pick swing away from breaking through when I packed up last week. It was so unfair to have waited, but in this moment I was not thinking of anything but pulling the lead light in as far as I could reach. First I inspected the roof to see if it was safe and climbed through, picking my way over the rubble. The size of the cavern left me breathless. It was huge. So huge, the light only showed the portion where I was standing. Massive stalactites and stalagmites had grown together. They looked like twirling icing going round and round the columns that were helping to support the roof. Slightly down the slope, amongst the hundreds of stalagmites, was a pile of dirt and limestone rubble. Looking straight up, I could just see my first hole. It struck me that I was the first person to ever see this wonder. It was so beautiful. Just at the very edge of the light, I saw the reflections of thousands of roof stalactites in the pool of water. The mirrored image was spectacular. I wanted to explore further, but my lead light was my lifeline. If the bulb blew or there was a power failure, I would be trapped in the dark with no way out. It was just as well I'd thought about this, as I tripped on one of the many stalactites and bumped my lead light and busted the bulb, and it all went pitch black. I was not afraid. I could still get back. Then slowly my eyes adjusted to the light. I became aware of millions of tiny green lights glowing from the roof. I didn't know it then. I'd never heard of glowworms. I just stood there transfixed in total wonder of how fantastic it was to own my own private cave.